Cold. The Cold War was a period of tense relations between the United States and the Soviet Union and its allies from roughly the mid-1940s to the early 1990s. It was a time of geopolitical conflicts, ideological confrontation, military threats, and an arms race, although without direct military confrontation between the main rivals. The main participants were the United States and its allies, Western European countries, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and other countries that supported capitalist democracy. The Soviet Union and communist states, governments in the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, and other parts of the world where communist rule was established. Colonial. Colonial wars were wars fought between empires or colonial powers and local peoples or other states for control of territory or resources. These wars often arose from conflicts of interest, power asymmetries, and cultural differences between the colonizers and the locals. Here are some examples of colonial wars. Wars of colonial possessions. European powers such as Britain, France, Spain, and Portugal competed for control of territories in Africa, Asia, the Americas, and Oceania. These conflicts often involved large-scale military operations and confrontations with local peoples. Anti-colonial movements. Invasion. The term invasion of war is used to describe a war in which one country or force invades the territory of another country to take control of it or change its government. This can be a unilateral action or part of a larger military operation. Such wars often have serious political, economic, and geopolitical consequences and can lead to prolonged conflict and destruction. Here are some examples of invasion wars. The Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, 1990. Under the leadership of Saddam Hussein, Iraq invaded neighboring Kuwait, declaring it its 19th province. This led to the First Iron War, when an international coalition led by the United States intervened to liberate Kuwait. Biological. Biological warfare is a form of warfare that uses microorganisms, biological toxins, or other pathogenic agents to harm enemy forces or civilians. It can be considered a form of chemical warfare, but is distinguished by the use of living microorganisms or their products. Here are some key aspects of biological warfare. Types of weapons. Biological weapons can include bacteria, viruses, fungi, or toxins that can cause disease in humans, animals, or plants. It can be applied in the form of aerosols, water, or food resources, and through direct contact. World War I, 1914 to 1918. This war arose from the system of alliances and geopolitical conflicts in Europe. The main participants were Austria-Hungary, Germany, the Ottoman Empire, and Italy on the side of the Central Powers, and France, the Russian Empire, Great Britain, and other countries on the side of the Eastern Powers. The war resulted in huge human losses, caused territorial changes, and had an important impact on the further course of events in the world. World War II, 1939 to 1945. Nuclear. Nuclear war is a conflict in which nuclear weapons are used. It is the most destructive type of warfare, as nuclear explosions can lead to massive destruction of cities, huge loss of life, radiation effects, and climate change. Here are some key aspects of nuclear war. Nuclear weapon systems. These include atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, strategic bombers, and other delivery vehicles. Fear of retaliation. A key aspect of the nuclear strategy is the concept of mutual assured destruction, MAD, which assumes that any nuclear attack will be met with a response from the enemy, leading to the complete destruction of both sides. Civil war is a conflict between different groups, factions, or regions within a country. It occurs when internal contradictions become so unresolved or so large that they lead to military confrontation between different forces within the country. Here are some of the main aspects of civil war. Causes. Civil wars can have a variety of causes, such as ethnic or religious conflicts, struggles for power or control of resources, social or economic inequalities, and political repression. Participants. Civil wars can involve a variety of parties, government forces, rebels, ethnic or religious groups, regional factions, etc. Often, such conflicts have a complex structure with multiple parties. Religious war is a conflict that arises from religious differences, conflicts or confrontations between different religious groups or sectors. These conflicts can arise from differences in religious beliefs, practices, or cultural traditions and lead to violence, hostilities, and even wars. Here are some key aspects of religious wars. Causes of conflict. Religious conflicts can have different causes, including opposition or persecution of religious minorities, struggle for control of holy sites or territories, interpretation of religious texts, conversion or defense of one's faith, etc. Chemical warfare is a conflict in which chemicals are used to harm an enemy. Chemical weapons can include poison gases, nerve agents, smoke agents, and other chemical agents that can cause serious consequences for human, animal, and environmental health. Here are some key aspects of chemical warfare. Types of chemical weapons. Chemical weapons can come in many forms, including poisonous gases like sarin, chlorine, and chloropicrin, nerve agents, smoke agents, biological agents, and other toxic agents. Economic warfare is a conflict between countries or economic blocs that takes place through economic means, such as sanctions, trade restrictions, currency manipulation, tariffs, and other measures in order to achieve political, economic, or geopolitical goals. Sanctions. Countries can impose sanctions on other countries to exert economic pressure or influence their policies. These sanctions may include restrictions on imports or exports of goods, investment bans, asset freezes, and other economic restrictions. Guerrilla warfare, also known as guerrilla warfare, is a form of warfare in which small groups of fighters known as guerrillas use surprise attacks, covert operations, and other tactics to wage war against a strong enemy, usually regular armies or occupying forces. Here are some key aspects of guerrilla warfare. Proxy warfare is a conflict in which two or more rival forces support different parties to a conflict without directly engaging in hostilities against each other. Instead, they provide financial, military, political, or other support to local or proxy forces that fight on their behalf. Support for the parties to the conflict. In proxy warfare, usually one or more states provide support to one side of the conflict, thereby promoting its interests. This can be through financial assistance, the provision of weapons and military advisors, or even direct intervention in hostilities.